Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're going deep into Unbecoming. Transform yourself to transform the world.
Ooh, that's a good one.
It is. And, this book really kind of flips the whole idea of success on its head. It's not about becoming what everyone expects you to be,
Right.
but about shedding all those expectations, those layers, and reconnecting with, like, your true self.
Yeah, yeah. And the author, he tells us a really intense story to illustrate this point. It all begins back in 1988. He's 22 years old,
Okay.
and he's about to get his big break in The Karate Kid 3, you know.
A good dream, right?
Yeah, totally. But then, during training, something terrible happens. He suffers a ruptured femoral artery,
Oh, wow.
internal bleeding. He ends up in a Las Vegas ER on Christmas Eve.
No way.
Yeah, and the doctors are telling him surgery is super risky. They might not even be able to save him.
That's terrifying.
Totally. I mean, talk about a nightmare.
Mm.
But it gets even worse.
There's more.
Right on top of all this, the director gives him this brutal ultimatum. He says, come back to set in 2 weeks, or we're replacing you.
So he's literally fighting for his life and his dream at the same time.
Exactly.
What did he choose?
He chose to fight.
Wow.
Yeah. He endures excruciating pain, loses a ton of muscle, but he pushes himself to recover, and he actually makes it back to set.
It's insane.
It's incredible, right? And, I think it speaks to the power of choice, even when we're facing those, really difficult situations.
Yeah.
It's not just a Hollywood story. It really highlights this core idea in Unbecoming. Even when things seem totally out of control, we still have the power to choose how we respond.
Yeah.
To succumb to fear and despair, or to tap into that inner resilience to overcome even the toughest challenges.
So it's about taking ownership of our choices,
Yeah.
even in the face of, adversity.
Exactly. And it makes you think, what choices are we making in our own lives? Are we letting external pressures dictate our path? Or are we actively shaping our own destinies? And, this is where that concept of unbecoming really comes into play.
Okay, so we've seen how he faced this, incredible test so early in his life.
Right.
But Unbecoming isn't just about overcoming those external challenges, is it?
No, not at all.
It's about confronting those internal ones, too.
Exactly. So to understand this next phase of his journey, let's fast forward a few decades
Okay.
to his 50th birthday. Now, on the surface, he seemingly has it all, family, a successful Hollywood career.
A picture of success.
Right, but here's the thing. He's deeply unhappy.
Wait, so even with all those outward achievements, he's still struggling. That's kind of unsettling.
It is, and it's more common than we think.
Really?
It really highlights how society defines success.
Right.
The focus on external markers like wealth or status.
Yeah.
It can actually lead us away from true fulfillment. We might hit all those milestones and still feel empty inside.
Yeah, it's like chasing a mirage,
Exactly.
You think you're getting closer to happiness, but it's always just out of reach.
Precisely. And for the author, this realization comes to a head when his wife confronts him,
Oh.
expressing her fear that, and I'm quoting here, she backed the wrong horse.
Ouch, that's gotta sting.
It's a wake-up call, you
Yeah.
know, a moment of raw honesty that forces him to confront the gap between his external achievements and his internal state.
So this is where the idea of unbecoming really takes shape.
Yes, this is the turning point where he decides to shed those layers of what he calls false success.
Okay.
And embark on this journey to reconnect with his authentic self.
Wow. So it's almost like hitting a reset button at 50 years old.
It was definitely a profound transformation.
What did that even look like for him? Was it like a complete life overhaul?
Well, the book outlines a 4-step process he followed,
Right.
starting with silencing the inner critic.
Oh, I think a lot of us can relate to that.
Yeah.
That voice of self-doubt that's constantly telling us we're not good enough,
Right.
not worthy enough.
Yeah.
How do we even begin to silence that?
Well, it starts with awareness,
Yeah.
noticing those negative thought patterns and choosing to challenge them.
Okay.
Instead of seeing setbacks as failures, he learned to view them as opportunities for growth,
Okay.
as valuable lessons on the path to becoming his true self.
So it's about reframing those experiences,
Yeah.
shifting our perspective.
Yeah.
That makes sense. But what about all those expectations from society, family,
Yeah.
our past? How do we unbecome those?
Well, that's where the second step comes in, rewriting the script of life.
Okay.
This is about questioning those ingrained beliefs and expectations that no longer serve us.
Okay.
And instead, defining success on our own terms.
So instead of blindly following that path that's been laid out for us,
Uh-huh.
We take ownership and create our own path.
Exactly. And that might mean letting go of certain goals or aspirations that no longer align with our values,
Okay.
even if it means going against what others expect of us.
It's about prioritizing what truly matters to us,
Yes.
not what society dictates.
Yeah.
I like that. But what about like all the baggage that we carry from the past?
Mhm.
Those painful memories, those past hurts. How do we unbecome those?
That's the focus of the third step, healing the inner child.
Okay.
This is where we acknowledge those past wounds, practice self-forgiveness,
Right.
and cultivate self-compassion.
It's like making peace with our past selves.
Yes.
So we can move forward unburdened.
Exactly. And this process of healing and self-acceptance is essential for creating a solid foundation.
Okay.
For the final step, becoming the hero of your own story.
Okay, so this is where it gets really exciting.
Right.
Where we take all that inner work and translate it into action.
Precisely. It's about making conscious choices that align with our authentic selves, stepping into our power, and creating a life that truly reflects who we are.
So it's not just about thinking differently, it's about living differently.
Absolutely.
It's about putting those insights into practice.
Yes. And, this process of unbecoming, it's not about reaching some perfect end state. It's an ongoing journey of self-discovery, of growth, of continually shedding those layers that no longer serve us
Right.
and stepping more fully into our authentic selves.
We've covered a lot of ground here, from life or death decisions to those internal struggles that can hold us back. But I'm curious, when we go through this process of unbecoming, what does that actually look like in the real world? Does it lead to, like tangible results?
That's a great question. And it's something the author addresses directly in the book. He talks about how, after embracing this process, he experienced some pretty significant changes,
Okay.
both internally and externally.
Like what?
Well, for example, he lost over 50 pounds, wrote 5 critically acclaimed books, and even created an Emmy-winning TV series.
Wow, that's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
It sounds like unbecoming can lead to some pretty amazing outcomes.
It can, but I think it's important to remember that those external achievements are really just, byproducts of the internal transformation. The true rewards, they're things like increased self-awareness, a deeper sense of purpose, and a stronger connection to one's authentic self.
So it's not about like striving for that external validation.
Right.
It's about cultivating inner peace and fulfillment.
Exactly. And one of the key insights the author emphasizes is the importance of focusing on the process,
Right.
not the outcome. It's about building healthy habits, showing up for ourselves consistently, and trusting that the results will follow.
That makes sense. It's like if we're constantly obsessing over that end goal, we miss out on like the beauty and the lessons of the journey itself.
Yeah, it's like planting a seed. You can't,
Yeah.
force it to grow faster or bigger. You have to trust the natural process.
Right.
Nurture it with care and be patient. The results, they'll come in time.
I love that analogy. It reminds me of that saying, like, enjoy the journey, not just the destination.
Exactly. And when we apply that principle to personal growth, it can be incredibly liberating because it takes the pressure off of achieving some perfect end state. It allows us to embrace the messy, imperfect, but ultimately rewarding process of becoming our truest selves.
And speaking of embracing that journey, the book ends with a really powerful quote
Okay.
that I think really captures the essence of unbecoming. It says, "The future is unknown, and that terrifies us. But peace comes from living in the present. The most important relationship you will ever have is the one with yourself." Isn't it time you discovered who you really are?
It's such a beautiful reminder that true happiness and fulfillment, they aren't something we achieve in some distant future.
Right.
They're available to us right here, right now, if we're willing to, cultivate that relationship with ourselves
Yeah.
and embark on that journey of unbecoming.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with a question to ponder.
Oh.
What's one expectation or societal pressure that you would benefit from unbecoming? What's one small step you could take, like today, to move closer to your authentic self?
It could be anything, questioning a long-held belief, setting a boundary in a relationship, or even just taking some time for yourself to reflect on what truly matters to you.
Yeah.
Remember, even the smallest actions can have a ripple effect, leading to, profound transformation over time.
So true. And as we've seen from the author's journey, unbecoming isn't about conforming to some external ideal. It's about discovering and embracing the unique, amazing individual that you already are.
It's about shedding those layers that no longer serve you and stepping into your full potential with all your imperfections and complexities.
And that's a journey worth taking, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep unbecoming.
And remember, the most amazing discoveries are often found within. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and until next time, keep seeking those hidden gems of knowledge.